Hey everybody, I'm Toussaint Morrison. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let's get straight to the video. Here are 3 things I learned in my 20s. Now I want to preface this with saying these aren't 3 things I should have learned or 3 things you should learn in your 20s. These are 3 things I learned in my life experience in my 20s. I share them with you because I think they're important to kind of document, and then hopefully you can learn something from it. So a little bit of background on me going into my 20s. This is extremely important. And actually, I'll rewind a little further. When I was graduating from 8th grade, 2 of my best friends had left the school already, and I couldn't wait to get out. I was so ready to be done. I was like, this school is stupid, I'm ready to go. On the inverse, in 12th grade, when I was graduating high school, I thought there was no life after high school. I don't know why. I was terrified of leaving. And I went to 2 colleges before I dropped out of both of them. And then I wound up at my 3rd college that I stuck with, graduated, great. But going into my 20s, I had a bout with Lyme's disease and mono, back to back. So my body and mind were severely compromised going into 19 and going into 20. I was not physically okay. And I was coming out of high school where I was swimming, running, playing football, running, swimming, and running even more. So I was always doing something very, very physically active. Going into my 20s, nothing. But here are 3 things that I learned going into my 20s. And I think it was very important for me to kind of make an exit or a hiatus from athletics and go into what I really felt was my calling. The first thing that I learned in my 20s about myself was that I was always going to be a creative. And there was nothing you could do or say to take me away from it. We toured all these colleges, and the first thing that I understood was, well, where's the theater program? I'm gonna get a degree in theater. That's the only thing I know I wanna do. I want to do theater, so I'm going to essentially be in college to do theater, or I'm not going to be in college and do theater. One way or another, I'm going to be doing acting, performance arts, one of the 2. And so I literally went to college just because they had a theater program. If there was no theater program, I wasn't going to go to your college. And so I learned about myself. I didn't understand why. I couldn't explain to you at the moment. Maybe I could explain a little better now. But at the time, I couldn't tell you why. If there was no arts program, I wasn't in it. Wasn't gonna be around. Not showing up. If there's no arts, well, who are you talking to? So I learned about myself that I was gonna be a lifelong creative. And that meant, even if I was broke and destitute. Like I went on the road with the band for 7 years straight, and I can't tell you how we paid for gas money. We didn't tip over ATMs or anything like that, but we went from Minneapolis to Pittsburgh, then to Philly, then back to Pittsburgh, then to Wisconsin, and then back to Minneapolis on what started out as like $120. I don't know. I don't know how we did it, but the thing was that to my detriment or my chagrin, I was gonna go and do art. I was gonna go play music. I was gonna go audition. I was going to keep going into art no matter what. And I learned that about myself, and knowing that was very powerful because it gave me the ability to already know what I was gonna do in a situation. And so if something wasn't serving my goal and my lifelong goal to be in creativity, then I just wasn't gonna be a part of it. 9 to 5, nope, not gonna do it. And so that was part of the gig. The second thing I learned, and this was being on the road with the band, is that friendship is awesome. I'll preface this with this. I didn't understand the value of tending to a friendship, but I knew that friendship was awesome. I learned that in my 20s. 30s, different video, is how to tend to the value of a friendship. But I just learned that developing a friendship with other people was awesome. And being able to make art with other people was even more awesome. And I loved doing that, like vibing with somebody on a stage, like on a cellular level. Like me and this drummer that I played with for about 10 years, we can sit in a room, maybe say 5 words over the course of an hour, and we know, and it's that those 5 words are like, 3 books, because we just know each other. We've played on stage, we've been in a moving vehicle across the country for months at a time. We know each other so darn well that you can't put it into capacity with words. So it's a beautiful thing. And I learned that friendship is awesome. And also in your 20s, what happens is you will come across people that you met in your childhood. And now you're like, damn, we're 25 now, dog. This is crazy. I've known you since you were 10. And there's a legacy of knowing there that kind of blows your mind. And you'll start to vibe with people that you knew in grade school, maybe even first grade, kindergarten. And now you're like, oh my goodness, we're adults. Talk to me more about what you're doing. Number 3, the third thing I learned in my 20s is to be kind and be generous. Now, this ties into being a creative, and friendships are awesome because kindness and generosity, I understood it when it was not in a situation, when I was with friends or I was in an artistic space or I was writing a play. If somebody wasn't kind, you could pick up on it right away. You understood that this person is not being nice, or I'm not being nice and I'm not being generous, or I'm in a scarcity mindset and I'm thinking, oh, we only have so much of this. We can't dole this out, and we need to be really conservative with our time and our communication. And at the end of the day, when I was writing plays and producing them, best way to go about it was to be generous and be kind and give everybody everything that you could to get to the space that you wanted to get, and to get them to the space that you wanted them to get to for the play or for the show or for whatever collaboration you were doing or in life. And so being kind, I learned what it meant. Again, 30s, learned the value of it, but I just knew in my 20s that being kind and being generous, it was an ability to practice lifelong. And if you fall out of it, you know it right away. I could feel it right away when I fell out of kindness and generosity. And my mindset essentially went to serving myself, and I could feel it right away. And it impacted everybody around me. And you want to get back, or I wanted to get back into the mindset of kindness and generosity as soon as possible, or at least have some type of reminder of what it meant to be kind and be generous and how that space felt and looked, getting back into it. And so those are the 3 things I learned in my 20s. Now, mind you, in my 20s, I took the minimum amount of credits you could in college so I could go on tour with my band. I forewent a job so I could apply for a grant to write a play. In my 20s, I've risked so much time, money, and spirit, and I would never do it different. I would do it all the same. The people I met, the amazing reroutes, detours, mistakes, everything accumulated to what I know now. And I'm a better artist for it. I'm a better human for it. I'm a better brother, son, husband, something, father, something. But I'm a better person for all of that. And I truly value the experience. And the thing is that I just remember, I'll wrap this video up with this. I remember somebody telling me, in my 20s, they said, I feel uncomfortable that I'm on the road all the time and we don't seem to be making a lot of money or having a lot of success in this band. And a friend of mine turned to me and said, but you're still on the road though, right? I was like, yeah. He's like, you haven't given up on your dream, right? I was like, no, of course not. He's like, you're gonna keep doing it, right? And I was like, well, yeah, of course. And he's like, so that's kind of the goal anyways. I mean, the money or whatever is gonna be a byproduct of you continuing to do the action. And so I learned, I guess a little 4th lesson in my 20s was to keep going. And I didn't know why or how how I was gonna keep going, but if you just wake up and continue to write or go at the action or the creation that you're looking to complete, you can't go wrong. You really can't go wrong. Thanks so much for tuning in. Appreciate you. Click like if you appreciate this video. Click subscribe if you haven't. And we will see you in the next video. Thank you so much for tuning in.